Welcome back to the Daily Dope Show. Um, and if you live in Michigan, so do I. That's why some people might notice I've done a lot more videos about stuff going on in Michigan than probably I would if it was just some other state, some other flyover state like Ohio. Like, I don't really care about what's going on in Ohio because I live in Michigan. They have a medical marijuana program. Great. I'll check into it if I'm ever going through. All right. Um, when it comes to medical marijuana programs, a lot of it hinges on sales and access being what it is. Most medical marijuana programs are garbage because they have, like, CBD only or some other shit, no growing. No home growing automatically means that it's not a real legitimate medical marijuana program. And the people that put it together are usually legislators or highly corrupt people trying to make a buck. And in case you haven't noticed, guys, we are being taken over by people trying to make a buck. And there's really nothing you can do about it. When marijuana becomes completely legal everywhere, it's not like it's going to be the only industry that's pure and don't have corruption pulling the strings and big sinister corporate corporate types trying to take over the whole thing and GMO it and do every horror story thing you can imagine, nightmare that could happen to something like that. It's going to happen, of course. There's nothing we can do to stop it, but we got to force them to let us stay in our space first of all. And that's not what's happening in Michigan. In Michigan, they are forcefully trying to push us out. And this is the final straw for me as a observer. I mean, I don't need a dispensary because, as far as me and my medical marijuana world, I grow my own plants. So there you go. I don't need to go get any medicine because I know how to do what I need to do to make my own medicine out of my plants. And that's all. So I don't need a dispensary. But not everybody can grow. Not everybody knows how to make, things out of it. Not everybody has time to learn. Not everybody is in the physical condition that you need to be in to do these things as well. So I'm a big advocate for growing, but I'm also a big advocate for safe access for anybody that needs and wants medical marijuana. I'm also for the prices going down so that people that are poor can afford medical marijuana, because it don't look like insurance is ever going to cover it, because guess what? It actually works, so they don't want to cover it. They want to pay for things that in the corrupt system. It's a circular system. Their big piles of money go from regulators to industry types to people in the insurance end of it. It's just a big pile of money that we don't have nothing to do with, and frankly, I don't want nothing to do with it. And if you want to make derivatives out of the plant and call that medicine and cut us out of that, I don't even care. Epidiolex or whatever, Sativex and all this other stuff. That's fine too. You can do that. We don't care. What we do care about is when you try to tell people that have been existing in the community for years, servicing the community with medical marijuana. Nobody complained about them. The police didn't have any problem with them. The municipality themselves are okay with it. In some cases, they even have like a system where they have, that you have to pay them some kind of fees. And yet the state is coming in and basically telling people that they have to shut their operations down. And even the people that have licenses are getting hit by this new emergency rule that just got dropped today. So this is part of the MMFLA, the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act of 2016, that was written by the highly right-wing Republican legislator in Michigan, signed by the governor, who's also a business type Republican in Michigan, business friendly. He's the guy that decided to shut down all the government services in 10 cities in Michigan because they're black. Quite frankly, you know, it's really hard to live in Michigan. People always talk about it being a blue state, It ain't a blue state. It's a red state. The Republicans run this state from top to bottom. We voted for Trump. We voted for Reagan. We might have voted for some Democrats here and there, but that doesn't mean we're a blue state. The people here are generally nice, but boy, there's a lot of people that aren't. And there's a lot of people that hate marijuana, but I think this is a green state. I think most people like marijuana or don't care about it either way. There ain't a whole lot of... The people that actually hate marijuana, not very many. Just the cops. So let me go ahead and read this real quick, and then I'm going to get on with... I might have a comment or two afterwards, but I'm going to go ahead and read this. And actually, I might even have some things to say while I'm reading it. Shit. That's how I do it. This is written by Amy Biolchini. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Sorry, but she is the medical marijuana and other marijuana correspondent of ours in Michigan here, I guess. Michigan medical marijuana businesses forced to have licenses by Halloween. Now, I did brush up on this just a tiny bit. I didn't make an actual video just about the fact that they changed the deadline again for the third time from, it was a September 15th deadline, and they changed it to December 15th. Well, then today came, and who knows why, but they decided to change it again for the fourth time. And let's just go ahead and read it. All medical marijuana businesses in Michigan must now have a license by Halloween, according to the latest set of emergency rules from state regulators. Officials are trying to force businesses into the licensed system and are now changing the compliance deadline for the fourth time this year. Officials from the state's Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs announced Monday that all businesses must have a license from the state board in order to operate after October 31st. After that date, all products sold at provisioning center at a dispensary has to be, now this is important, grown, processed, and tested and transported at licensed business. I'm guessing that what this means is the plants can no longer be that overage from caregivers. It has to be some plants that were grown in a licensed facility, processed in a licensed processing facility, tested in a lab that is licensed, and after the lab got licensed. So if it was tested before the lab got licensed, then that's no good anymore. And transported by a transporter from the growing or processing facility to the dispensary. And all of this has to be licensed. That's going to create a big gap in product. And then there's going to be a big bottleneck in the labs. We've seen this in state after state that adjusted regulations, or some that went from zero regulations to regulations. And it can be pretty ugly. And usually what happens, like what happened in Oregon, is the state realizes that you're pissing off all these businesses, and plus you're going to miss out on a lot of tax money right off the bat because they're going to have to scrap a bunch of product, and they can work that out on their books and make it so that they're going to be able to sell that much more product that's actually licensed. You know what I mean? Once they get the product that they can sell in, they're going to be tax-free on a lot of that because of all the lost money that they could report on that shit you made them throw away. So no matter what, you could just look to Oregon and see why. There's a lot of reasons for both sides to be happy about letting them still sell that product that's already on their shelves. Don't be absurd. This is just ridiculous. All right, back to the article. Last month, state officials tried to force the closure of 98 medical marijuana businesses who hadn't submitted certain paperwork by the previous deadline of September 15th. And again, you don't want to leave out the fact that this is all Laura's fault for not giving the people the initial, they have to go to the place of business and do a site check and inspect it. And once it passes that, then they can move on to the next part of the application process. That's Laura's fault that they didn't do that. So all the businesses that are in contention are waiting for that piece of thing to happen. You know, it's unfair for Laura to impose this deadline on them when it's Laura's fault that nobody's come out and looked at their facility yet. For 108 other businesses whose licenses were further along in the review process, officials were going to let them operate unlicensed until December 15th. So those are the people that have license or have made it through the first part of the application process and are in the second part of the process, or have made it all the way through the process but haven't paid the $48,000 assessment fee to the state. Another thing that you left out of this equation, which is very important to mention, because in my opinion, that's a bullshit thing. To make someone pay a $48,000 assessment fee. And is this yearly, and why is this? This is just insane. No other business is burdened with this high of an assessment fee by a state. You can name one. I would like to know about it. But I haven't seen anything, even like, you know, you got Raytheon that manufactures highly dangerous like nuclear devices and shit that are weapons. You got people weaponizing like, you know, chemicals and viruses in Fort Detrick, Maryland. I don't see them having to pay even a $48,000 assessment fee every year to the state of Maryland. Do you? Does that happen? I don't think so. This is absurd that you're holding that over these. We shouldn't like. This is why I say repeal and replace the MMFLA. It is designed specifically for these rich people that lobbied to make the rules, and I made a video about that when it happened back in 2016. And these people that made the rules catered the rules so that it made, so this is in 2017, I'm sorry, is where you'll find them videos, but whatever. Those people lobbied to make, the lobbyists made the rules. No one called me and asked me what I think about it. No one was like, hey, Brand, we know that you're an activist and for the medical marijuana community and the caregivers especially, who kind of want to be included in this medical marijuana transformation somehow. What do you recommend? What do I recommend? I recommend that they go back to the drawing board and hammer out some way that caregivers can take their overage to market. Period. I don't care if we do it separately in a different marketplace, or if you let us test our product and package it, you know, according to compliance, and put it in to the existing market that you're creating under the MMFLA. Whatever you want, you got to get us in. Otherwise, you know, it just doesn't look right. That's what I would say. Repeal and replace. Because you guys, you know, you wrote this for the big businesses, and now you're making people that can't afford to get in, you're making them pay. And you're going to, what, you're going to arrest them? Is that the next step of this? A judge issued a temporary restraining order on that rule September 13th so that all businesses were given until December 15th to be licensed. That is until Monday, October 1st, when officials issued their latest set of emergency rules. So the deadline on December 15th was actually not something that Laura generated. They didn't put out, I mean, they might have put out a memo that said, hey, this is what's going on, but they didn't say, okay, the 15th. That was just when there was some kind of a thing that gave them until then, which is like 3 months, to you know, figure something out, or who knows what would have happened. New rules would have had to be hammered out. The deadline that was supposed to be September 15th would automatically go into effect on December 15th. But whatever the case is, Laura, probably at the behest of people that were already operating their new dispensaries, were probably mad that they're looking out the window after paying all that money and seeing, you know, that there's still those old dispensaries that haven't paid their money, and they're still opened and they're still selling stuff. And I can't blame them, but at the same time, I don't like the fact that you guys are pricing them out of the marketplace, because that's basically essentially what you're doing. This is like reverse, like, I don't even know what it is. It's not a free market, that's for sure. A free market would let those people in because they've already been there. They're existing businesses. If a business has its door open without a license after October 31st, they could be referred to police or the state attorney general's office. So there you have it. That's the penalty. That they're threatening you with arrest. And we've seen what happens when dispensaries get busted, but I don't know what they're, you know, all these rules about having licenses, it's not really a matter of breaking laws, it's a matter of breaking rules. But as we've seen, when you break any rules that they make, you automatically cannot use medical marijuana as a defense. You're automatically just treated as some kind of illegal operator 100%, and everything you have is used against you in that manner. There are 12 active medical marijuana licenses in the state, according to the Bureau of Medical Marijuana's online database. 5 are provisioning centers. The board has approved a total of 37 licenses. The next meeting of the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board is October 18th, and I will keep you updated on that. I don't know how long this article's been sitting here, but I guess 448, about an hour. A little over an hour, and I'm the only one commenting on it. Come on, guys, get over here and help me out here. Or does nobody even care anymore? Everybody is, so focused on the fact that we're about to legalize regular, everyday marijuana, whatever you want to call it. This is kind of like, this story is kind of being overshadowed, but it's still important to me. It's still important to the people that are about to get their businesses shut down. And I made a comment, when are all these haters going to leave people alone for using their medicine? Are you really going to raid dispensaries that have not caused any problems in the communities that they have served for years? And for what? The rule that dispensaries cannot sell anything that wasn't grown, processed, tested in a licensed facility will cause a huge bottleneck, and we will see access to our medicine basically being returned to the black market. It is time we start talking about repealing and replacing the MMFLA. And furthermore, we need to end the idea of communities opting out. This is 2018. Prohibition is about to be ending. Stop preventing people from accessing their medicine. Oh shit. We're still stuck in the timeline where they still arrest people for weed. And yeah, there it is. If you didn't believe me, 75% of communities have opted out of the medical marijuana program. 75% of Michigan communities won't allow you to have a medical marijuana facility, period. You can't opt out of the Medical Marijuana Act of 2008. You can't opt out of that. People are allowed to grow weed in their house. If they have a medical card, they can grow weed on their property. That you can't stop. So that's all I got on this bullshit. And I do say full-throatedly, and I hope I can get some politicians on board to maybe help me out inside the bubble in Lansing, but we need to repeal and replace the MMFLA. If I can get somebody to help me out with that, put a comment below. Let's talk about it. Let's do it.